Guys, my voice is still a little shaky from yesterday. Um, but here's my top-down review for Rogue One, a Star Wars story. So Rogue One is the first in the anthology series of Star Wars movies that are going to come out between now and I want to say 2020. And this movie basically centers on the plot line that was expressed in Episode 4, which is how the rebels stole the plans to the very first Death Star. So, we're introduced to our main character, Jyn Erso, who's this daughter of this imperial scientist named Galen Erso, who goes about trying to help the Empire design the ultimate weapon, which eventually ends up turning to the Death Star. Now, he obviously doesn't want to be a part of this, so he ends up coming up with a weakness. The weakness that we know, which is the small thermal exhaust port hidden very conveniently in the first Death Star that will, when fired torpedoes inside, will destroy the entire station. So Jyn has to take this information along with her companions Cassian Andor, Jesus stick wielding samurai dude, whose name escapes me, his mercenary friend, and Bodhi Rock, all the way so that they can deliver these plans to the Rebel Alliance so that they can gather up a team to eventually destroy the superweapon, which is what they do in Episode 4. The movie itself seemed really, really, really good. Enough to be a definitely new contender of my favorite Star Wars list. But the whole movie just seemed like a huge callback to Episode 4. A lot of different things that if you had seen Episode 4 prior to this movie, then you would be like, oh, well, yeah, that's convenient. They used that actor who is dead now to portray this actor who they used for this movie. And just the whole span of how this story takes the saga in a new direction into these new worlds and everything, and how these rebels realize, being a rebel is actually pretty hard. You have to go against the Empire, you have all these people telling you no and all this stuff, and, it's a difficult life, and Darth Vader's whole appearance only makes that even worse, and, that whole scene on Scarif when they are on the beach and they are just constantly fighting. That is what war in Star Wars should feel like. All this immense pressure to get things done, and then just at the very, very last infinitesimal second, it gets done, and it just feels really satisfying. But it's a lot of nostalgia for Episode 4, which made me really happy. But is it anything is it better than The Empire Strikes Back from what I could hear? Personally, I don't think so. I mean, it's a very good movie in its own right. It's a very good anthology movie. It's a good separate story. But does it beat a movie like that? Probably not. According to me, anyway. But I can tell you it is definitely worth your time, definitely worth seeing. Definitely, if you are a fan of the very, very first Star Wars, either Star Wars or Episode 4, whatever you want to call it, A New Hope. If you're a fan of that movie, I highly recommend you see this one. It's a lot of callback to that movie. It definitely does justice to it, and it does justice to the original trilogy. And just the fact of seeing stormtroopers again, which is really weird since we have moving to First Order stormtroopers and then back to regular stormtroopers now, just seems really, really out of this world. But personally, I liked this movie. I thought it would be. I went in with expectations that were really, really not low per se, but just I wasn't expecting that much out of it. But it was definitely worth my time, I would say. So Rogue One is got to be the first part of this anthology series, and then after that is going to be the Han Solo film following Episode 8, and then whatever the third one will be, which either will be, from what I can hear, it'll either be a Boba Fett film, a Yoda film, maybe even an Obi-Wan Kenobi film. We're not exactly sure right now, but it could be any of those three, which will be the last anthology film. But yeah, the only gripe that I have is just that it was just weird sitting there without the opening crawl at the beginning, which I thought was just a little strange because I'm just so used to seeing that as my way to open up a Star Wars movie. But I mean, the way that Disney put it is just like if it's a non-saga film, then there's no point in having a crawl, which in that case I can see, but still, I mean, it's just I like to know the background of everything before I watch a Star Wars movie because of how iconic that is. It's just it gets my mind set into a Star Wars movie. But like I said, Rogue One is definitely worth seeing. Definitely a thumbs up. An 11 out of 10. Really great film. Really great callback to Episode 4. And really great performances from Felicity Jones, Diego Luna. I mean, even James Earl Jones, who has just a little brief role of Darth Vader as it is. I mean, does an amazing job. So let me know what you guys thought about Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. Make sure to check out my video for the prequel trilogy. I was planning on making one for the original trilogy. I'm not exactly sure if I'll still do that. I may and I may not, but I will see. Make sure to check those out. Also check out my Chris Predicts on War for the Planet of the Apes. I give a little insight on what I think that movie will be like. And of course, happy Star Wars Week to anyone that has seen or has seen already Rogue One. Hopefully you have seen it before you watch this video. I didn't really delve too much into spoilers, but still, I hope you guys have seen it. So, I am Chris, and I will see you guys in the next video. Adios.